This episode is brought to you by Starbucks. Smooth, bright, deliciously crafted. Introducing Starbucks Sansera Blend, their smoothest, brightest coffee yet. It's a new kind of light roast, one that's packed with so much flavor, it shines no matter how you brew it. So go ahead and try it hot, iced, black, or with a splash of creamer. Visit athome.starbucks.com/Sansera-blend-coffee to bring Starbucks Sansera Blend home.
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast gems.
I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Most Haunted City on Earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And I'm JT Timmons.
I thought you were going to say you're Labubu.
Oh, I don't. I'm.
Where have you been?
I'm working. I'm setting this whole thing up.
He's not engaged with the process.
Yeah.
No,
I've
got 50 different things to remember, and if I forget one of them, something doesn't get recorded.
Oh, okay.
So,
understood.
yeah.
Well, JT's Labubu today. I'm naming him that.
Labubu.
He might be Labubu forever.
Forever. But all right, y'all. So we're going to be doing a ghost mail today. Woo!
Woo!
Before we get into that, though, we have a few announcements. First off, we have Sozo Bear coming in, which sounds like that would be a demon coming to sit on the podcast, but it is not.
Or a stuffed animal that people love the world over. Have a Sozo Bear. Oh!
Have a Sozo Bear.
Oh, that becomes possessed. It's
Chris, you've known about him for a while, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've known about him for a while, too.
Yeah.
But I've only known them really as a production company.
Yes.
I don't think I knew them for anything more than that.
Yeah.
I think that's all they are.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
well, there you have it.
Yes.
And they do a film festival, too, up in North Georgia.
Yes.
Called this. I don't want to. It was Sozo Bear Presents something.
Yes.
I forget it.
That's,
Yes.
I think that's the way I know them.
Yeah. It's like the night of the movies or something.
Night
Anyway,
of the movies.
yes.
That's right.
Yes. And so, we're going to have them on the podcast on July 16th. And that is because they are coming out with a new series that is about cryptids. And we all know how much you guys like cryptids.
Oh, yeah.
So we're really excited. And that is going to be on live for the Parajunkies only. We're going to have them at 2 p.m. on July 16th. So it's a little bit of an earlier live stream.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Eastern Standard Time for all of our Parajunkies in other time zones.
It's called Unknown Elijah.
Unknown Elijah.
Oh,
That's the
there you go.
series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unknown
That's
Elijah.
fun. That's
Yeah, they've
gonna be
already
cool.
completed the first episode, so they're just gonna come and talk about it, where you can watch it. They sent the trailer in, and it looked dope. It looked really good. Like I would watch it immediately.
I'm excited.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I love consuming any kind of media on cryptids and things like
And North
that.
Georgia is crazy
Cryptid
full.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it's going to be a really cool episode, and I'm excited to hear more about their project and if they've had any experiences while filming it. I'm sure they have.
You would imagine. We need to go on a cryptid hunt, straight up
Cryptid
cryptid hunt.
Maybe we could do it with them.
Cryptid hunt.
could.
Talk to them about it.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
they know what they're doing.
I know that Brian Byers wants to go hunt the Altamahaha.
Altamahaha.
Just
I went
45
out
miles
there.
south of there. Yeah.
I went out there to fish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking it's a
I
sturgeon.
caught sharks.
I think it's a
Most people
sturgeon,
saw
too.
just a giant sturgeon.
Oh,
They
really?
are terrifying.
They
I
are
mean,
scary.
Yeah.
Like if you saw like a ridged backed thing
Oh, heck yeah,
right there at
dude.
the surface, I would think it was a monster.
Yeah.
Actually, if I saw a sturgeon, I would just like monster, and like it's a sturgeon. Still,
Still monster.
still monster.
That is river monster.
armored fish.
Armored fish. Yeah. So we're going to be doing that. So
Definitely check us out for when we're going live for that. Also, we are going to be investigating the Ryland Theater in Americus, Georgia on July 29th.
That's a big one, y'all.
Yes, it's
Yes,
going to be very
excellent.
good. It's going to be very good. Yeah, we are really excited. We are the first people to investigate that theater since the 90s. So,
Woot.
Yep. It's going to be amazing. They're setting us up. They've just been so sweet. They've just been incredible.
And this
Great
is going to
people run
be
that
the Savannah Paranormal Museum's curator's very first ghost hunt. We're going to be dragging Justin along because
I can't wait.
he needs to have more experiences.
Well, and you know what's so funny is that he's never been on a ghost hunt, but yet Justin used to be my boss when I was a
he used to
ghost tour
run
guide.
the ghost program. Yeah, absolutely. And he is the curator of a paranormal museum.
Yet no ghosts.
He has never been on a ghost hunt.
Yep.
So we're glad that we get to be the ones to corrupt him first.
Yeah.
That'll be nice.
Corrupt him.
And then, but also for that, I'm going to be doing a deep dive on the Ryland Theater, so that'll be coming up too before we go there. And then, last but not least, we are opening the evidence locker starting today. Unlocked.
That means if you become a parajunkie right meow, that you will be able to go through I think it's 2 hours long, EVP that we just left down in the basement of Bubba Garcia's, which is 7 East Bay Street. And we also, I just finished exporting 2 of our most active Estes methods from that night. And I am going to include a document that explains how to look through the footage properly, how to look for waveform peaks and valleys and all of that. So it's going to be great. And it's right now.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. And that way, too, if you guys find anything in the evidence locker, you can send it to us and maybe we can feature it with your credit as the lead investigator on that piece of evidence. So,
Heck yeah.
So there you go.
That's
we got a lot
interesting.
going on at Haunted City Summer here.
Woo!
Woo! So let's go ahead and get into our ghost mail for the Ooh. I forgot we had that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we have Ghostmail lights.
No reason to do that in
I mentioned
post.
them.
Yes.
We might as well terrorize the hosts right in the middle of the show.
That's the
Yes.
fun.
That's the fun.
That is the fun.
It's theater.
Don't you know me, Chris? I love terrorizing people.
Yes. It's high camp. Anyway. But anyways, all right. So starting off ghost mail. So I'm going to read a brief sort of synopsis of a previous ghost mail that we got in because we got a follow-up on this ghost mail. So just because it was a little bit of a lengthier story, this way we kind of get our gist of what was going on so we can refresh ourselves for the follow-up. But Leslie reached out to share a lifetime of unsettling paranormal experiences that have followed her since her early childhood. As a young girl, she repeatedly demonstrated uncanny knowledge of places she had never been, like accurately describing a street and a house in Texas she'd never seen. She also had episodes of sleepwalking in a trance-like state, including one night when she was found near the home of a man who had died that same night. Leaving her family shaken and distant toward her, when Leslie's family later moved to a house that always felt wrong, she narrowly escaped dangerous encounters like a nest of black widows and a rattlesnake in the yard. She found some comfort in attending church, but was soon terrified by a terrifying nighttime encounter, a glowing, menacing wisp of smoke that materialized at the foot of her bed and grew larger until she screamed for help. Her sister finally found her hysterical in a room that felt like an oven, but their parents dismissed it as fever dreams. After that, Leslie shut down about her experiences and kept them to herself for years, despite continuing to feel haunted by something dark. In her message, she asks us for our thoughts. Is she cursed, gifted, or just imagining it? She's hoping for answers and to finally feel understood. So we gave our rationale on the whole experience, and Leslie felt compelled to bring up new details. So, hello, Madison, JT, and Chris. Thank you for listening to my earlier story and for just being there. I've spent so many years dealing with this and yet not dealing with it at the same time. So many times, things that you have said during an episode have struck a chord with me. I know y'all have been told this a million times, but thank you for creating a space that allows people who have experiences that don't fit the accepted norm to speak out. That is our whole thing. We love hearing ghost stories.
Yeah.
The scarier, the better. Well, I don't hope anything scary happens to you, but
I do.
But if it did happen, we love to hear about it and give our insight. So thank you guys for sending in your stories. And thank you, Leslie, for sending a whole follow-up, too. To answer some of your questions, I have always had some sort of sense about things, but so many children do. Before we are tarnished by the world, we see the world as it truly is, full of amazing things that we don't question, we just accept. I've always felt that something was with me, though it wasn't until I started actively participating in church and learning about God that things got interesting. This is a trend that I noticed later in life when I returned to church in my teens and then again in my 30s. I'll share those stories later. About a year after the Wispy Smoke event, my sister and I were going to participate in a kids program at the local community center. We had walked to her friend's house to meet up with them, and the plan was to all go together. My sister's group of friends decided it would be fun to hold a seance as her parents weren't home at the time.
Oh, boy.
You know.
Like you do.
Like you do. Perfect. Being the younger sister, I got dragged along for the ride. There were about 7 of us in total in a circle on what I guess was her parents' bed. In the center, they put a lit candle and turned out the lights. The room was so dark and everyone held hands, and honestly, I don't know what the heck they said. What I do remember is what I felt like ice cold air shot around the circle, curled around my neck, and shot forward to the candle, that is super freaky, but which immediately snuffed it out. As you can imagine, the room was now filled with 7 screaming girls, all clamoring for the door. My sister, to her credit, grabbed my hand and jerked me outside. Once everyone was on the sidewalk, they all started laughing and began blaming each other. I didn't think it was very funny. I don't know how any of these preteen girls could have pulled that off. Though they didn't waste another moment worrying about it, we all began walking the 8 or 10 blocks to the community center. I don't know exactly who noticed it first, but there was a dark muscle type of car on the next street. No big deal until we had walked a block over and then down, and there it was again. Seems stupid when I think of it, but with that, what had transpired earlier, now everyone seemed a bit on edge. I'd be on edge in general because people are scarier than ghosts a lot of times.
Always.
But my sister's best friend said, "Let's lose this guy," and we darted through a backyard and cut across a path, only to emerge and see the same car another block over. We all freaked out and ran the last 2 blocks to the community center. One of the girls said something to the staff, and they went and looked, but couldn't see anything or anyone. One of the older volunteers walked us home later just to be safe. One could look at this event as a lot of interesting coincidences. A bunch of girls scaring themselves, someone creating a perfect circular gust of ice-cold wind that each one of us felt passing behind them, and it choosing me to stop at before going forward to the candle. Then, of course, the same bunch of preteen girls walking down the street could absolutely have drawn the attention of a not-so-nice person who was looking for a straggler. I can see so many sides of this, yet part of me knows that something was there. I felt it. I can't explain it, but part of me knew it. I believe that it was my involvement in this event that caused the reaction, and unfortunately, it allowed what this is to truly attach to my life. Honestly, the things I have experienced in this event in particular gave me a firm no playing with fire mentality, LOL. Someone brings out a Ouija board or tarot cards or hell, anything that asks for anything, and I'm out. I know I've rambled on for too long. I'll share more another day. Stay spook. Wow. All right. Yeah. Well, considering that you do seem to be visible to spirits, I'm not surprised. Just from remembering what you experienced in your last story, it just tells me that you're one of the people that spirits can see, even if you can't necessarily always see them. So not shocked to hear that. The ice cold wind is interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point.
And whenever you have that kind of group dynamic of people who are like, hey, let's do a seance. Hey, let's go ahead. Something that very intriguingly happens is sometimes in that group, there's one person who's kind of like an antenna, just a pure conduit. And everyone else is along for the ride at that point. And that's problematic because a seance is supposed to be sharing the burden of the veil. But sometimes one person is far more targetable by the spirits. And that usually brings about a very specific type of spirit too. So even the notion of then seeing, this muscle car on every corner, it's not so far-fetched to think that, I'm not saying that it was a spirit in a car, but it was somebody influenced by the same spirit that you may have conjured or attracted. Because that's something that generally happens is especially in a seance situation. You obviously didn't close out the seance.
Right.
You invited a spirit to have its presence, and then you ran away. And now the spirit is out and loose and looking around.
Free to roam.
And if there is anyone whose mind is already teetering on good intention, bad intention, and that spirit gets near it, it's like, hey, I know what you could do, and whispers in their ear, and then they become a menace. So yeah, it is a fairly classic tale that you wove. That the teenage seance, scaring each other, getting all that stuff. But when you add those elements to the cold wind, the blowing out of the candle, seeing this car seemingly following you, that all tends towards a narrative, right? A story that you could kind of say, I see the
through line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I see a through line. I see where there is a kind of cause and effect. No matter how coincidental everything could be, you also can say, oh, you know what? We are always expecting like the boogeyman to jump out of the shadows, but it's really sometimes just an emotional influence that appears. And a lot of times it'll happen to one of the people in the group. One person in the group will start to exhibit predatory or strange behaviors. However, it makes perfect sense that if there was somebody
already out.
Yeah, already out and already of the mindset, an easy mark for that kind of dark energy, it would be drawn straight to it.
Well, and I think it's interesting too that whatever the entity was snuffed out the candle, because that's your connection.
Tether.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's saying, I want to be on this side.
Right.
It literally closed the door
Because that's
for
how
you.
you close. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So it closed from its point of view. It's like, I'm now on this side. I put out the candle. You can't send me back.
Which is super concerning on the sense of like, what entity is this then?
Sure.
Because a normal entity, your grandma, isn't going to snuff a candle.
No.
There's a certain comprehension of rules that they understand of this is where I'm supposed to be. So something that's that desperate to get through
And stay on this side.
Yeah, and nothing you want to deal with. Which makes me wonder if it didn't almost become one of your attachments.
Sure. Or if it was one of your attachments manifest.
To begin with,
Right.
yeah. Because that would make at least a little bit of a sense of a hallmark of sorts of this is where it all began and all of that jazz. But yeah, nonetheless, it's a very creepy experience. And this is exactly why we say don't mess with seances and things like that if you don't know what you're doing. Lesson be learned. I'm assuming this is at a time where, teenagers in general always were doing these sort of things. But we've learned now. We've learned.
There are enough movies.
There's enough movies. And what's weird about this is our next story also involves a Ouija board.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I love when that happens.
I do too.
When
Although
it's like
it also
3 Hatman
involves
stories.
one of our most celebrated words.
Doppelganger.
Doppelganger.
Hey, say it again.
Doppelganger. Doppelganger.
Yeah,
Doppelganger.
doppelganger.
That's right. Our views just leapt into the sky because we said doppelganger.
YouTube and Spotify is like, we're pushing them. We're pushing them. They
like,
said it.
we
They
love
said
They
it.
said the word. They said the word. They said the word.
JT, what were we watching the other day? We were like, that's a literal doppelganger.
Ooh.
We were watching like a documentary or something where it looked like that comedian.
Yeah.
The like country comedian, country.
I don't
comedian.
remember now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, if it comes to us, we'll think of.
But
we'll
yes,
say it.
I do remember something like that.
Yeah, we were watching a documentary, and one of the people being interviewed looked like this one female comedian. She's got like short blonde curly hair, and she's very country and all that. But they looked identical. Like,
There's a lot of times when celebrities, I get them confused, and there's that real doppelganger moment where you're like, oh, wait, that's not.
right.
What? That guy. Like the first time I saw Owen Wilson, I thought he was Jay Moore with a fake nose on. I was like, why would they put a fake nose on Jay Moore? I was like, that's not Jay Moore. It's like, what? And now, of course, they could not be further. Like, thinking back at that time, I was like, yeah, it's something wrong with my brain.
But in that moment,
that moment, I was like, wow, Jay Moore. How weird.
What a strange
What
nose
a strange choice to
prosthetic.
put that weird nose. It would be really terrible to walk around with a nose like that.
Oh
It's
my-
like, oh, yeah, that's his nose. Ooh, I'm sorry.
Yoinks. But all right. Doppelganger and Ouija
Doppelganger.
board story.
Yay!
All right. Hi is how I'm going to assume that's what you meant it as, because it's hi, but with 5 eyes in all caps. I'm going to assume that's how it's pronounced.
Solid.
I've been a fan and parajunkie for about a year now. Thank you very much for being a parajunkie.
Yes, thank you.
And have been meaning to share this with you guys. But before I get to the story, look what I found. Anyway, here's the story. Oh, this is the meme. So it basically is a
Cryptid
For everyone listening,
For everyone listening, they sent a meme in that says, I don't understand cryptocurrency, but I would definitely be interested in cryptid currency, which is also weird that we talked about the cryptid documentary on this episode. But it includes 4 coins that look like quarters. Bigfoot, the Mothman, Chupacabra, and Loch Ness Monster.
I would invest.
I would too. I would vote for this to become our new quarter system.
Yeah. Every state has a different, cryptid. Let's
Yeah.
do the state coins with cryptids.
It would be so unique. Or at least a limited release from the mint. Who knows? You know?
Somebody get the Franklin Mint on the phone.
Tell them I want to talk to somebody.
I don't know who's in charge, but listen to me. Cryptids, I say. Cryptids.
Cryptids. You know, the Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot.
the Bigfoot.
You would look great on a quarter. But, all right. Anyway, here's the story. It's pretty short. Their words, not mine. In high school, I was in a pottery class and had no idea what to make. So me being me, made a homemade Ouija board.
Out of clay?
Out of clay. I love that for you. That's honestly pretty clever.
Yeah.
That's also a lot of clay. That
Like
must
air dry clay.
no,
and then
it's pottery
pottery
class.
class.
Oh, it's pottery clay.
So
Oh, okay.
that's got to be like fired in a kiln.
Did you glaze it?
Do you have photos of this?
We would love to see them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be the heaviest Ouija board known to man. But
I actually think there are metal ones, big, thick metal ones.
like
out there.
like chunky ones?
Yeah.
Oh. You can knock somebody out with that Ouija board. That's
Or it could knock you out.
or it can knock you out depending on the
I've also seen
situation.
marble.
Marble?
Etched
Ouija
into
boards?
marble.
Oh,
That
wow.
makes sense though,
Yeah.
because
Well, clay is notoriously linked to paranormal. I mean, there's a lot to
'Cause
say
Earth.
because it's Earth.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it absolutely has like this quality to it that is very druidic. You know,
right. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, making anything from clay by hand it's almost a ritual of sorts.
it is a ritual.
So
Absolutely. Anyway,
yes.
sorry.
So
Sidebar.
So me being me, made a homemade Ouija board. Typically this wasn't allowed, but she was proud of how well it came out. So I had to get it after school.
Sure.
She said, you can make this, but you have to take it home.
I cannot display this at the parent-teacher day.
Yes. Well, I pick it up and my mom leaves for the weekend. I invite my now ex-boyfriend, my friend Taylor, her man, and 3 to 4 extra people. We decided to use the Ouija board.
Oof.
Nothing was working, so I told the people who didn't believe to leave, and I locked all the doors. Oh my God. Front, back, and sliding glass door is all locked. Perfect. The board is working, and we all get this uneasy feeling. I have a seizure disorder, and I thought I had one. Turns out I did faint or fell backward with my eyes open and not blinking.
Oh, whoa.
That's crazy. When I came to, we continued. I tried to say goodbye, but it just stopped moving. A few seconds later, the people who were locked outside came in and were like, this was requested. I asked how they came in, and they told me I let them in.
No.
Ooh.
But I didn't move from that spot. We all freaked out and ended up leaving to go camping on the river to another really haunted place.
Well, sure, of course.
Going to the river is another great place to meet a ghost. But
That's true.
I put the Ouija board on my bed before we left, and when I came home that Sunday, it was cracked perfectly in half in the same spot I left it.
Oof.
And that's all we have on that story.
Oof. Good story, though. That'd make a good short film, actually.
It actually would. I completely agree. It's very cinematic in the idea of like seeing this really nice clay Ouija board
Glazed.
just
It does make me wonder, did you make the planchette? Did you have a planchette from another board? Were you using like some people use a shot glass?
Yeah. Oh, I've never heard of a shot glass doing it. That makes
So-
sense though.
Not that I am prescribing this in any way, shape, or form, but if you wanted to make your own Ouija board out of anything, you could just mark letters down on any flat surface and take a shot glass and use the shot glass.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, in theory, how all of it works is just by intention and opening.
Right.
You know.
And that physical kinetic
Exactly.
touch.
So that does make sense. That makes a lot of sense. But don't do that.
Don't do
Please.
it. No. I'm not prescribing it. I'm just saying academically, this is a way that you might be able to achieve the same effect.
Possibly.
Possibly.
But I'm like, I'm still trying to digest the concept of you passed out with your eyes open, not blinking, and then everybody thought you let them in. So it's making me wonder, did you have like an out-of-body experience?
Or was it a doppelganger?
Was it a doppelganger coming through?
Something from the board going through.
Right. Letting
And
out
I
the
missed.
doppelganger?
Were you able to get a goodbye out of it?
Well, so
because you were interrupted.
So it said that it wouldn't move from the spot. So they freaked out and went camping.
And then it broke,
Yeah.
which suggests that the spirit was not going to, be contained, and it was loose.
What is with these stories of these spirits
are-
not wanting to go
I
back?
shall not be contained.
I shall not be contained to your wee board. But that is concerning too. I mean, the fact that you made it out of clay, I'm assuming it's pretty solid. You know, some clay things you can just, throw it on the ground and it's going to break. But if nobody did anything to it, that is very peculiar.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Completely destroying the vessel.
Although I will say, I did take pottery classes, and many of the things I made broke, but that's because I'm really bad at it.
Fair enough. But I feel like, was that when you put it in the kiln and like fired it, or was it you just
No, they'd actually
crushed
crack.
it?
Just
Oh, wow.
because I didn't. There were like areas where I didn't fold it right, or it was
Yeah.
too thin in a place, and
Yeah, just take the podcast.
yeah,
Fair.
yeah. I don't do any pottery. I haven't for many moons.
Many moons. Yeah, so we're gonna need an update
Update.
if you're willing, because I have questions.
Tell me about the your reflection.
Ooh.
Any strange occurrences with your reflection? Any strange occurrences with other people saying they've seen you in places you haven't been? There was a short period of time in Savannah where I was being harassed by my friends because I was not saying hi to them in different situations. And I was like, I was never there. I wasn't,
Ooh.
I don't know what you're
Ooh.
talking about. And then it turned out that there was some guy in Savannah who apparently looked so much like me. And the way I found out was I was at Blockbuster Video. This is how long ago it was. I was at a Blockbuster Video. And this guy comes running up to me. And he's like, dude, you look exactly like my best friend. You look exactly like him. I need you to come with me to his house and freak his family out. Come on. And he's trying to get
To
me
his
to go.
house?
Hell yeah.
Oh my god.
Did you
And at
do it?
some point he was like, can I see your driver's license? I was like, why? He's like, I want to make sure you're not my friend. He literally was like, I'm beginning to think you're messing with me.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Like, yeah. So I showed him my license, and he was like, oh man, you got to come with me. You're freaking him out. I was like, no, that is how you kidnap a person.
Literally.
Come with me. It'll freak them out. Yeah, sure. I'll get in your car and drive across town to freak out some family
That you don't know.
that I don't know.
Oh God. Yeah. That would be terrifying. That would truly be terrifying. I really hope that I don't ever have that encounter. But yeah, this is just a creepy story in general. It's short, but it hits. It punches.
It do punch.
And so, yeah, definitely let us know if you have more details. Also, tell us if you had any experiences when you're camping down by the river.
Yes, because riverfronts are notoriously haunted as well.
Yes. So thank you so much to our Ouija board people for sending your Ouija board stories in today. I don't know if this one's going to have a Ouija board experience attached, but this one comes from Bree, and it's titled, My Ghost Has an Eye for Interior Design.
Love it.
Nice.
People are always asking, why are ghosts all so scary? It's like, they're not all scary. Some of them are quite helpful. I'm hoping that that's what the story is, and it's not like, and then the guts were all over the wall.
It could very well be.
It could very well be. That's true.
But honestly, I'm hoping that we're getting like a Queer Eye moment here. And this could be a possible new reality show. My ghost decorates my house.
That's it. Ghost decorator.
Yes. And like makes people feel all warm and fuzzy by making their lives better with chic design. But
that's how it gets in.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you realize it's actually not a reality show. It's a movie. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. Anyways, so hey guys, first I wanted to say I'm a huge fan and I love the podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had an experience I would love y'all's opinion on. I feel like I've learned so much from watching the podcast, so I feel like I have a list of possible spookies this might have been, but I would really love your take.
Sure.
Very nice. This event happened back in 2021 when my husband and I had recently moved into a new home that desperately needed updated. While starting our renovations, things started to stir up around the house, which is really common. Anytime you
renovations,
do
absolutely.
Yeah. When you start messing with the, interior of a home, it will stir up spirits that aren't either happy about it or not so happy. Either way, I have what I like to call a healthy awareness of the paranormal, and I always take precautions protecting my home. When we first moved in, I made sure to set the standard that nothing was allowed inside the house without permission. I later realized I need to specify that outside of my house was also off limits. The first experience I really noticed was being able to hear a man's voice right outside my bedroom window.
Oh, hell no.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
What if Black Friday deals were available in the summer? Don't miss week-long doorbusters at Best Buy during Black Friday in July. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
Yeah.
That's delightful.
Dead or living, don't creep outside the bedroom window.
Oh, my Lord.
Don't whisper or talk outside of a window. That's so creepy. It's
like, let me in.
Maybe.
Or, is that what you're going to wear to bed?
That's the scariest thing I heard all day.
Tap, 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 tap. Take the socks off. Tap, 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 tap.
Oh, God. No.
Not the socks. Not the socks.
Anyway.
My bedroom wall and front porch share an exterior wall. My bed was set up right against the window. Great.
That'll do it.
I could peek out of the window to see the porch and front door. It wasn't uncommon to hear commotion outside, but this sounded different. It sounded like a man was whispering. You got it right, JT. It was whispering to me right against the glass.
Good Lord.
No.
The socks.
Don't like it.
Maybe
it was like stock. Like, buy IBM.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a door-to-door salesman. He's like, have you updated
What
your
kind of
kitchen
vacuum
knives?
are you using?
Okay.
But okay, hold on. I can never really understand what it was saying. My husband is a firefighter, and he's gone anywhere from 24 hours to a week at a time, so it wasn't uncommon for me to be alone. But I tended to only hear this voice when he was on shift.
Oh, my gosh. It waited for your husband to leave.
Ooh.
Goodness.
Creeper ghost.
Don't like it.
I don't like it. I typically just ignore entities until they give up, but things started to ramp up. I have 3 dogs who love spending time outside until they didn't.
Oh, my gosh. Really?
Ooh.
Got a spirit keeping your dogs inside. That's not good.
That's not good. Normally, my dogs are sunbathing or digging holes to the underworld, but but my dogs started barking, snarling, and avoiding the back of the backyard altogether. It wasn't uncommon for them to bark at the back of the fence line because it was all woods where deer and other creatures roam around, but it got to the point where my dogs wouldn't even use the bathroom. They would just instantly go into protection mode. It got so bad that we'd have to go outside with them or walk them around the neighborhood so they could pee. One night, it was kind of stormy, so I let the dogs go out before the rain started. I was watching TV while they did their business when I heard the normal whispering, but I ignored it.
Not the normal whispering. Not it's not it's
to a
normal
place where
now.
it's like, yeah, you know.
It's
there's
just
that
a whisper.
whispering.
You know the whisper man.
You know the whisper man.
It's like it sounds like the basilisk.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's exactly what I was.
Parcel
thinking.
tongue.
Yeah, parcel tongue. Okay, so I heard the normal whispering, but I ignored it like always until I felt very urgent need to check on my dogs, even though they'd only been outside 5 minutes. I rushed outside, and sure enough, the fence gate was wide open and they were gone.
No.
This is JT's worst nightmare.
This is my worst nightmare.
He has nightmares about this regularly.
Regularly.
So you're
I really do.
You're touching a nerve right now, but
We need to play like psycho music now.
Yeah.
literally. I was able to trace 2 of them down immediately, but my 3rd puppy is a retired hunting dog who went into the woods after something.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
He is a hound dog, so I could hear him in the woods howling
He's
as he was trying to tree something.
Yep.
He was tracking something down. I lived in the country and I was surrounded by swamps and forests. It wasn't uncommon for him to chase things, and he'd normally come back in the morning. I trailed him into the woods for a bit, but I just couldn't keep up with him. When he came home the following morning, he was a wreck. His face was all beat up and swollen. He had been bitten by a snake, which has never happened before.
Whoa.
He was covered in mud and soaking wet. He never tried to get out of the fence after that. Even if it was open, he'd stay put. I'm not sure what happened in the woods, but the woods was just an awful coincidence, or not, but I'm leaning towards not. When trying to close the gate after they got out, I realized it had actually been broken. This was a pretty new fence, very sturdy. There was a patio under neither it and a giant wheel to help it open and close. There were actually nails and metal rods installed into the gate so that it could only swing inward. So if you tried to push it from inside the yard, the nails and rods would prevent it. So something had pushed the gate so hard from inside the fence that the wood split where the nails and metal rods were.
Goodness
Yeesh.
gracious.
Oh my.
So where is this again? Did she give a
Didn't
location?
say.
don't
No. But somewhere swampy and woodland.
We need
country.
the location.
I have a husky, a hound dog, and a Pomeranian.
I'm an emailer.
I love this
A husky
trio.
and a Pomeranian?
A husky, a hound dog, and a Pomeranian.
Walk into a bar.
Yeah, right?
That's my favorite type of trio. And I seriously doubt that event if all three of them were jumping on the fence that those metal rebar rods would have broke. Probably not. I mean, maybe the husky, but even that's
Rebar?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's like strongman competition. Like where
Really?
they bend those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Rebar is an
insanely
iron
hard.
bar.
You don't just
Oh.
break that.
That's interesting too.
Iron.
Yeah.
That's no good. Okay.
I guess you can get it steel too. Steel rebar.
Let us know, is it steel or iron? Makes a difference. I decided to ignore this thing even harder. It couldn't be as stubborn as me. A few days later, when my husband was home, we decided to paint our living room. I decided to wash the paintbrushes outside at the water spigot. While I was bent over, something came up and smacked my butt. Oh no. Oh my God. Okay, something my husband does often, but he wasn't outside. It happened a second time about an hour later when I rinsed the brushes again. I told my husband about it and he decided to wash the next round of brushes outside. He didn't get a smack on the butt, but a shove into the side of the house.
Oh wow.
Oh my God, this thing does not like your husband.
Preferential.
Well, we decided to continue to ignore the entity and eventually it would have to give up. At least that's what we thought. I talk to myself quite frequently and think out loud. I have ADHD and it's just one of my quirks. I also have a habit of talking to my husband constantly, even when he's not home. So I was laying in bed, my husband at work, and I started talking to my husband about the plans for decorating the house, trying to decide what colors would be best as I scrolled Pinterest. And I heard my husband's
Hey, there it is. Doppelganger.
for the third time.
No.
Yeah, well,
Well,
second
it's-
time.
Yeah, a chain.
A
We're
chain.
definitely,
That's
we're
crazy.
definitely on the train.
Yes. My husband's voice, clear as day, answering me in the living room. At first, it didn't even faze me as I kept talking and he answered about the colors he liked and what furniture he wanted. I guess entities enjoy leather recliners in the color green. Who knew?
Wow.
That's fair.
I also enjoy the color green, sometimes leather, not so much. We had been talking a good while when I started to get frustrated that my husband wouldn't just come into the room to talk. And before I asked him to come to the bedroom, I finally remembered my husband isn't home. Ooh. I ran out to the living room and no one was there, but I turned to the front door and there was a shadow of a man standing outside.
Blah.
Blah is right. It's been a very active button today.
Yeah.
I locked myself inside my room and called my actual husband. I knew then I was going to have to be more forceful. My husband came home from work the next morning, and while we were sitting on the couch, I was talking to him about having to handle this thing. My grandma was a very spiritual woman, and she taught me a thing or two about how to handle these sorts of things. I got up from the couch after explaining to my husband what I needed to do, and as I walked toward the hallway out of the corner of my eye, I saw something stand up from where my husband was sitting and run at me as fast as it could. I screamed and fell to the floor. When I turned around, my husband was still sitting on the couch before he rushed over to see what was wrong. Whatever ran at me had my husband's shape, but his face was absolutely horrific. Ugh. I did what my grandmother taught me, and we never had a problem after that, but I have no idea what that entity was. I would love to know what y'all think.
Wow.
So that's more mimicky.
Yeah.
Mimic. But
that's strong
That's so wild.
to break the fence.
Here's the yes. As a matter of fact, like when you're talking like Appalachia mimics, they're strong enough to heave people up into trees. So, you know, that whole concept of hearing a loved
emailed her and
one's
asked
voice,
where it was.
and you have there is a doppelgangerish notion of if it was standing outside the window, it may have been forming itself based on your husband's presence, and so it was trying to observe your husband long enough to look like your husband, to act like your husband, to voice like your husband. So it kind of is interesting where it was like whispers that you couldn't understand, and it was just this form and a shadowy thing. And then the spirit started acting like your husband, smacking you on the bottom, interacting with his voice. So that all of that sounds much more doppelganger than mimic, because I think mimics have an almost immediate control. Doppelgangers have to actually watch you for a while to assume the persona of somebody. They're not instant. It takes observation. So creepy.
That is a terrifying story. I think what's throwing me the most is that I guess maybe it was trying to harm your dogs. The dog thing is what's still confusing my brain.
It didn't tap at the window. That was in my head.
JT,
but the whispering,
JT wanted it to tap on the window.
I did want it to tap. I don't know. I love that. But yeah, the whispering at the window, I love that too. But that is that's mega creepy. Yeah. And I don't think it had any issue with the dogs if it's whispering at the window. I think it's only malevolent.
I think, why I say I think it had an issue with the dogs is because the dogs were protective of her.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
okay. I see what you mean.
They were going on defense every time, and this entity might have been thinking these dogs are keeping me from her.
I think it's a very bad man who harmed and abused his daughter, who shot him and buried him in the yard. And this was a while ago, and his spirit wants in because she reminds him of her daughter.
But
that's a strong narrative.
That's a strong narrative.
The mimicking quality is the part that's missing in that story. Because even the idea of whispering and not being able to understand what he's saying, that sounds like a doppelganger trying to manifest. Yeah. It's still working on it, and your ability to hear it was a step in the process of becoming more like a person that you're interacting with. And it's very possible that when your dogs were out in the yard, they chased it, and it ran so hard that it ran out the gate, broke the gate, went into the woods, and then in the woods found another animal to mimic or doppelgang like a snake to fight off your dog. Possibly. And then your dog, coming face to face with that, decided that it's no longer fun to go out into the woods.
Yeah, it's not. I like Elizabeth's theory.
Yeah, that's a good theory.
So Elizabeth said, did it want the dogs gone because they could tell the difference between it and the husband?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good
Listen to your pets.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's a solid theory.
Mega solid.
Regardless, though, crazy story. And we'd love to know if these things are still kind of... if you've had any... Maybe not this entity, because you said you've never had a problem with that, but have you had any other experiences since then? Because not to say that entity couldn't take another...
Yeah.
That's
route.
true.
Well, I emailed her back and I asked her what part, because it matters.
It does.
What part
it
of the
does,
world?
Because
if this
there's
is Appalachia, then
so many.
Right.
Yeah, you've got a look behind, or you've got creatures that famously will sound like loved ones and try to lure you out. However, this one is encroaching in, which is fascinating in its own, which suggests that maybe the house was built on its natural habitat, its home. So
crazy story. Yeah, honestly, all of these are really wild stories and an interesting theme that has
emerged. It's sort of molding itself into...
We love a theme.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and close it out and get into the fix.
Alrighty, y'all. Well, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you have a ghost story you would like to send to us, you can send it to ghostmail at hauntedcitypodcast.com. And also, if you have a ghost photo and you'd like to submit that to our Ghost Caught on Camera segment, you can do that as well to that email. Just put Ghost Caught on Camera in the subject of the email. But other than that, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And stay spooky, y'all.